Blessings. Hatep and Ma'at. That means I'm offering you truth. Welcome to Sexual Alchemy. I am Nef, and this is my beautiful sister, Leyanne. We're going to go ahead and introduce ourselves. But first and foremost, if it's your first time here, welcome to Sexual Alchemy. This is a webinar series specifically on going through the various energy centers of the body as we're working through how to embody our power through activating our sexual energy in a very conscious and potent way. I'm going to go ahead and let my sister Leyanne introduce herself first. We'll briefly go over the introductions and then flow through our presentation for the day. We'll do a bit of an overview. If it is your first time here, this is webinar number 4. So I highly recommend that you go back and watch the previous webinars so that you can get all caught up, because it is a progression of energy and it's very important that you follow through the entire process. So sis, you can take us away for anyone that's here that may not know who you are. Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah, hey, blessings, beloveds. Thank you so much for joining us, for being here. We are so excited to be here on such an important chakra after going so many other important chakras, opening up our ability to be in our power. So like Nef said, we are here today to talk about a very important chakra, which we'll introduce. But first, I'll share a little bit of myself. My name is Leyanne Oliveira. I'm a medicine woman, a yogini, a mother, a Kriyala, an African woman who is just passionate about liberation. I'm passionate about our power. I'm passionate around us taking our full thrones and being in our full divinity and shining light during this beautiful revolution that we are in on the Earth planet right now.
And I am Nef. I'm Aust NeferKa. I am a farmer. I'm a sacred wisdom keeper, high priestess of ancient Kemetic sacred science. And I'm a healing artist of many, many different modalities, multidimensional healing, and focus on creating different medicines for us to be able to integrate. And as our sister said, we're in a very powerful, revolutionary, transformative experience on the planet right now. So all of the things that we create via the Tehuti Ma'at, which is a revolutionary instrument that's really designed to create empowering systems and support institutions developing in the areas of healing, art, and education, specifically for the upliftment and resurrection of people of African ascent. So as Leyanne said, we are both Kriyalas, so we come by way of Cabo Verde Islands in Africa. So shout out to those who are on Facebook right now, who are tuning in from Cabo Verde, beautiful people. We're going to make sure that we invoke and uplift our native tongue and our native language. The last session that we just did was actually all about the throat. So we did a lot of talking about like how language and the power of our voice is very important. So just know we're going to be implementing and weaving in some more Criollo into the flow of our presentations moving forward. As Leyanne said, we are going into a very beautiful energy center. Sometimes I don't like saying my favorite because they're all our favorites. Honestly, but the heart is definitely a special, special energy center. It is literally the center of the 7 main energy centers. So today we're going to go into that space, and our sister is actually going to begin by just making sure that we're really grounded and connected and rooted in our hearts.
Yes. Peace and love to Sky High Jam that's in the chat. I'm happy you are here again. And yeah, let's get started. So of course, before we take off, it's good to ground. Before you expand, you always want to be thinking about rooting. How can I root deeper and deeper and deeper? And that's part of our practice today. So we're going into the heart chakra, and the heart chakra is similar to a beautiful, beautiful medicine instrument known as the drum, right? The drum makes the same sound as the heartbeat, which is the first sound we've heard in our mother's stomachs, her heartbeat. So I would love for you to ground with us, and we'll be doing a little tuning in. And then once we're tuned in, I'll do a little bit of drumming to just bring us closer to the heart. So wherever you are, finding a comfortable place to center yourself. So if you're sitting, finding your sits bone, finding where your body meets gravity, relaxing your arms, lengthening your spine, bringing the heart forward. So bringing your chest up, relaxing your shoulders, your jaw, and bring the gaze internal into your mind's eye, into your internal landscape. Inviting you to take a couple breaths. And begin to descend down into your heart space. Taking another deep breath in through your nose. And out of your mouth. And begin bringing all of your attention to the middle of your chest. Noticing how your chest is feeling in this moment. Noticing if there's any tightness, any tension, any vibration. What is the state of your heart in this moment? If it helps, you might want to bring your hand to your chest to bring more awareness there, more connection. And as we open this time together into the heart realm, into this potent, powerful center of connection with ourselves and others, I invite you to first check in with your powerful heart. And wherever you are noticing tension, I invite you to bring breath there. So inhaling and noticing beautiful cosmic breath traveling into the nostrils, right to where this tension lives. And with every breath, with every beautiful life force that you bring there, with every exhale, allow your heart to release what might be stopping you from being fully present here tonight. Taking one more breath, making this the best one yet. Inhaling, and then with the exhale, really using that beautiful throat chakra to allow the heart to release. So inhaling, presence, relaxation into the heart. And then with the exhale, audibly release. And ask your heart to be fully here, relaxed, with this new life force that you've brought to it. And ask it to be open to receive what it needs to receive during this live, and to release and let go what no longer is serving you as you ascend through the heart tonight.
Sis. That means I'm so thankful. Thanks and praises. Giving thanks to this great, mighty heart of ours. Giving thanks. Giving thanks because from the moment it started going, it hasn't stopped since. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So giving thanks for this beautiful heartbeat, this center of our passion, of our purpose, of our courage. Ashe. And thank you for the drum and bringing in the spirit of the deer. All right. So for those who are here with us live, feel free to engage with us in the chat. You can put in any of your questions or comments. We'd love to see them in there. If you are catching the replay or the raw play, as we like to say, you can go ahead and leave your comments and we can still reach out to you. Later on in the stream, we're going to go ahead and share our email if you want to reach out, the website for Sexual Alchemy. Sexual Alchemy we're just giving you a taste, right? Just a little sneak peek of what you get to receive through the Sexual Alchemy Retreat, which is a retreat experience that we're going to be having in Cabo Verde, February 28th through March 7th, right? For the beautiful Carnival ritual. Okay, so if you're not familiar with Carnival is a beautiful tradition in the African diaspora that celebrates not only sexual energy, but really the emergence of the creative life force that sex is, right? Through art, through abundance, through magnetism and beauty. And the Sexual Alchemy Retreat is part of us sharing this medicine through a very multidimensional experience, right? Not only through the land and the awakening, the beach, all of the beautiful things, the turtles we're going to swim with and all these amazing things, but we're literally going to be going through sexual alchemy classes and specific somatic and meditation classes that are specifically to make sure that we are moving and allowing our bodies to actually go through the alchemical process. Part of that is the foods that we're going to be nourishing ourselves with. So it's a whole experience. What we're giving you a taste of during this Sexual Alchemy webinar series are the first 7 energy centers, or the primary, right? The main 7 energy centers. They're not the first because it's not in that sequence, but we do go over 12. We're going through 360 degrees, right? This entire circulatory system, right? Of our energetic body. And the seat of that, which we're considering like the seed of our power, is the sexual energy, right? Our life force, the reason why we're all here. So we've already moved through the crown. We've descended into the first eye, which many know as the third eye. And then last session, we did the throat. And today we are entering into the heart space. So we're going into the heart Arit. The energy, or the word I should say, that we're using, that for those who may be here for the first time, but also repetition is the mother of learning, right? So Aritu is the ancient Meruneter or Kemetic term for the chakras, which is the Sanskrit term. If we're speaking of one Arit, it means it's singular. So one chakra is Arit. If we're speaking about multiple and it's plural, the chakras are Aritu. So today we're going into the heart Arit. Okay. Mm-hmm. And remember, we already, last session, we talked about the electromagnetic spectrum because we wanted to make sure that as we're moving through the energy body and we're working through these energy systems and going through all the Arit, all of the Aritu, that you are recognizing that we're talking about the electromagnetic field. When we're talking about power, we're talking about these generators, we're talking about this magnetic force field that is not only in our body, but it's also reflected on the planet and in our solar system and in our galaxy. It's a beautiful microcosm that we're experiencing. And the heart is really the essential component of that, because in the universe, or the solar system of our body, our heart is the sun of our solar system, right? So Sis is going to go ahead and give us an introduction to what exactly this energy center is all about.
Yeah, so last week we went through the throat chakra. So for those that are watching, we talked about the importance of the chakra right before. Hello, Infinite Dream Studio. So happy to see you back here too. We talked about the throat chakra, and this channel of expression and expressing the heart. And today we're descending down to this power center of the heart. The heart chakra in Sanskrit is Anahata chakra. And this chakra is the center of compassion, of eternal love, of connection and love for self and also for others. The heart is really a center of healing, and it is so important for healing. It's the center of forgiveness, which is one of the easiest ways to release and open up the heart chakra, is to just ask yourself, who do I need to forgive? What is sitting on my heart that I need to let go of? And it's the center of understanding. So with the 7 centers, the heart chakra is placed literally in the center between the 3 chakras in the bottom, which is more of our animalistic primal, and we haven't gotten to that part of our awareness of who we are. And then in the middle of our spiritual self, our higher self, our lower and our higher self. So it's an important gateway. It's literally the gateway to your higher self. So for you to ascend, for that kundalini, that sexual energy that we've been talking about, for it to be able to move through these barriers that exist through chakras based on like the tension, the traumas that exist there, for it to actually move up to the higher consciousness, to your higher self, it has to break through the heart. So the heart is a very important center. It's connected to the element of air, which we've talked about, this cosmic principle of ma'at and the weighing of the feather. So we want our hearts to be light. Interesting enough, it is the element that rules the heart, is air. So we want our hearts to be as light as a feather, and for it to be open, to be light. This center is also in charge of our receiving and giving. So with the heart, there's specific things that I'll talk about now that will give us an indication of the state of our heart. And one of them is just noticing, like, where am I in giving and receiving? Am I someone that feels, particularly with women, us receiving is so important, right? Our feminine, to receive, is so important. And we might have a hard time with receiving, right? Receiving compliments, receiving love. If someone is like, hey, I can help you with these bags. Like, are you allowing people to help so you can receive? Or is that something, a place of constraint, a blockage, or like hesitancy? If your heart, Arit chakra is open, then you will, or if a person's heart is open, you will notice that they are positive, they are light, they are inspired, they're loving, they're empathetic. So they feel deeply and they allow themselves to feel deeply. And on the other side of that, if a person's heart is unbalanced, you'll notice bitterness, resentment. It's someone that feels fearful all the time, vindictive, angry, sad, stagnant. The heart, again, it's our gateway of emotions, connection with others. So even the state of our relationships, right? Like, how are our, what is the state of the relationships that we have with others? Like, are we in volatile relationship, toxic relationships? Are these relationships not giving us what we need, the nourishment that our heart needs to receive? It's all a reflection of the state of our hearts. And just for like for more on like the physical part of it, our heart is connected to physically our breasts in our arms are extensions of our hearts, which is why touch is it's a really important thing for the heart. So if someone is having heart imbalances, it's also connected to touch, like how much touch are they getting. And even like with it being the extension of our heart, that's why when we want to share love, we go in for an embrace, to like hold someone, to feel them, for that heart to heart connection. And then with our breasts, it's literally how we nurture children. It's how we literally, like, physically nurture our newborns. It's through our breasts. So it's our ability to give off love to these beautiful sensual, voluptuous part of our body, which is our breasts. And then, yeah, so sis put up the heart field. So one of the things that is like really important to understand about the heart, that, you know, we've known this, right? Our ancestors knew this, is that our heart extends outside of our body. So there's the physical organ of our body, the physical organ, that's the heart, right? We have in the subtle body, we have the chakra, which is this vortex of energy. You could see it like a wheel of energy. And then this wheel of energy is not only in our subtle bodies, which we could see within the physical body and a little bit above it, it's also in our auric field. So our heart, science is catching up to what our ancestors knew, that our heart actually can extend up to 9 feet in front of us. So that's why the state of someone's heart is something that we as intuitive beings can actually sense and feel. If you're around someone that their heart chakra is open, you'll most likely feel a pull towards them of like, oh, this person has something to give, or they have a love or something that I want to experience. There is a pull that you feel. Versus if someone is shut down, you can also feel almost like a shield, a disconnection. And the auric field is really important because there's many layers to the auric field, but the auric field specifically, one of the most primary roles of the auric field is protection. It's a layer of protection over our spirit, which connects right to one of the important roles, or an important gland that the heart chakra governs, which is the thymus gland, which makes T cells, which are white cells that essentially support our immune system for it to be high. So not only is our heart connected to our immunity, our ability to fight off invaders in viruses and bacteria and things that our body doesn't want, doesn't need, but also it's not only physical, but it also mirrors into the energetics, into the subtle. So your heart, the state of your heart could either protect you, or you can have, when your heart is bitter, when it's unbalanced, all those things that I mentioned, fearful, what you're doing is you're creating a crack in your auric field, or even you're weakening, right? There's a crack and there's a weakening of your auric field, which can give beings access to you that you don't necessarily want access to. So this heart center is a really, really important center to focus on, not only to be able to move up into higher consciousness, but also for your protection.
Yeah. And as you said, like, everything is revolving around your heart. Remember, it's the sun of our solar system. So it's attracting everything to us. The state of our heart is that important, as she's saying. And then when Leyanne was speaking about the heart as a energy center that's associated with the element of air, I want us to think about like the actual function of the heart, because we're going to get deeper and we're going to go into the rooting it right into our ancient ancestral science, and what were the symbolism, what was the symbolism used to speak to this energy of the heart, and this kind of like subtle aspect that we're talking about that exists beyond the physical heart. But right now, let's begin with the physical heart, right? Why the element of air? Why do we want our hearts light? What is the purpose of our heartbeat? Let's take it back to fundamentals, right? Our heart is beating because it's needing to pump the blood, right? That hemoglobin through our circulatory system for what? To move the air, right? The oxygen. Not only is it circulating the oxygen through to our major organs and the tissue and all of the different parts of our body that it's circulating through, it's also removing the carbon dioxide. So it's having this reciprocal process, right? Coming back to Ma'at, which we'll speak about a bit more, but we talked about reciprocity, giving and receiving in equal measure, right? Not only is this activity bringing oxygen to us, it's also removing carbon dioxide, what we don't need. So that's the filtering process that we need to constantly be having with the heart. You know, having great care of taking great care of our hearts, right? And that happens on a physical level as well as a energetic level in general. But in a practical sense, I do think it is important for us to remember, like, heart disease is the #1 killer of humans on the planet globally. Okay? So the state of our heart is critical. And remember, the same way we talked about in all the other energy centers, the state of your heart, everything starts in spirit and then it takes form in flesh. So when people are experiencing heart disease, it's an expression of this extreme disconnect that we're experiencing on the planet, right? So the healing of the heart is so important. And I think one of the misconceptions about the heart that people have, I think personally, it's the only energy center that I would personally say, open the heart. The open heart is protected, right? Because we think sometimes if we block our heart, we shield our heart, right? Right now I have my cowries, my heart protector. But really the great protector is the open heart, because when your heart is open, you can clearly see, receive, and hear into the heart of the universe, right? So that's really where I want us to go, because now we're going to go into the chemistry of the heart. All right. So like I said, the heart is pumping, it's pumping our blood through our veins. That hemoglobin has this particular molecule here, this Heme B molecule. And at the center of the Heme B, you can see the chemical signature for iron, right? At the heart is a singular iron atom. And that atom, which says Fe, right, in the center, stands for, because in Latin and in the common, you know, chemical interpretation that we have is based on the Latin system, right? And in Latin, the word for iron is ferron. What I think is interesting for us in Criollo, the word for iron is ferro. And then when you think about the key essence of that word, or just what is used in the chemical code, is fe, right? And fe in Criollo is faith. I think that's very important. I think one of the things that people really underestimate about faith is that it's a powerful force. To have faith, to maintain faith, is to keep your heart beating, because your heart is beating no matter what. It has faith in each breath that you're going to take, right? Because that's it. That's what gives it purpose. And we were talking about that through the throat, right? The oxygen, the air that we need. And it's part of us connecting. It's part of us connecting because we know that breath connects us to everything. We know we need the tree kingdom. We know we need the plants and the trees, the birds, the bees. All of these things are part of this cosmic dance that we're in. And it connects us. It connects us to our planet. It connects us to our purpose. And at the center of this heart, of our physical heart, is this iron, right? But where does this iron come from? This is the real key on a practical note, because we're not just talking about something that's theoretical, that's esoteric, that you can't grasp. We're talking about something that's very practical. It can be crystallized. It can be very tangible and physically understood through astrophysics, believe it or not, right? Because where does the iron that's in our blood come from? What happens in the universe, the only way that iron is produced is through specific cosmological processes, right? So you have supernovas, and then you also have, so what you're looking at on the screen is an image from the Hubble Space Telescope. And it's an image or a series of different images. Know that these are different images because what you're looking at, this process would take billions of years. Okay. So what they're showing is a series of events that shows what happens when we have a galactic collision. All right. And this is essential because when we're looking at the formation of iron in the universe, they're only formed through the creation of stars. So as stars begin to explode and come together and explode and come together, this is where iron is produced in the universe. And that is the same iron that is circulating in our blood right now. Okay. So I think that's important for us to sit with that, because even when you look at this expression on the screen, it's literally two things coming together and creating one. And I feel like that's the center that the heart represents of our energy field, because we were talking about those lighter frequencies when we're talking about the electromagnetic field, the higher pitch frequencies being a bit more associated with the feminine or the mother, and then the lower denser energies being associated with the male, the masculine, the father energy. And the coming together, right? That union that you see is literally an expression. Our heart is an expression of union, of sacred union, of this collision. That's such a beautiful expression of love, because that's what we associate with the heart.
Yeah.
So
before we go in that, sis, I do want to add something around like the faith, because I think it's really important. When I was describing the heart chakra, I didn't mention something that's actually really important. If I was going to describe the heart as anything, for me at this point, is I would describe it as the soul's compass. I literally see the heart as a place of communication with the creator. The creator communicates with us in different ways, right? We talked about the crown chakra being a portal of receiving insight. In the heart is also that. It is this beautiful place of communicating with our lover, which is God, right? The one that created us, this our most intimate and sacred relationship with what created us. In this love ship, the way that the creator communicates to us is through the heart. Now, the piece that I want to connect it with the faith is oftentimes was what separates us from either hearing that and being like, oh yeah, that's heart, or being even to distinguish between, is that the mind or is that the heart? Like, is that a soul is that a soul conversation I'm having internally within myself, or is that the mind? Is because we aren't practicing, or maybe wasn't introduced to this practice of faith, of like having faith that what you're feeling in your heart is actually true, that what your heart is saying to you is the ultimate, at least your most ultimate highest truth, right? If it's not someone else's, the faith, having faith in what the heart is saying is probably one of the most important things, and the thing that I believe is probably lacking in the collective the most, because the more you actually listen to your heart, the more that because it's a compass. Your heart is your North Star. So if you can listen, tune in to your heart, it's always going to be navigating you towards your soul's desire, which is also part of this retreat. Is we're supporting you in embodying your power, so then you can manifest your soul's desires. So you know that all the things that your heart is feeling, the things that your heart is desiring, is specifically put there by the creator. Like, it's not something I'm just feeling like, oh, I'm just feeling like I want to go to Cabo Verde. It's like, no, you're feeling it because it's a communication, not only from your higher self, but from your creator. It is communicating with you that this is part of your soul's calling. Your heart is constantly pulling you towards where your destiny, let's say, your beautiful, glorious destiny.
yeah, so beautifully said. And I think about like even just what we're looking at on the screen, right? Like, when we talk about sexual energy and we're talking about like this dance between the masculine and the feminine, or the polar sides, right? Because we're acknowledging we have both of these within us. It's the mother, the father principle within each of us, right? The aspect of our mother and the aspect of the father that has made us who we are. So when I'm looking at the screen and I'm literally seeing these two energies coming together, they're making love. They're making love. And that is the creative force, right? That creates it on a molecular level, what it takes for us to be created.
Yeah, come make love with yourself. Okay, that's what sexual alchemy is. Come make love with yourself. Can you allow yourself to make love?
Yeah, and it's such a beautiful thing. And as Sis was saying, it's really about this magnetism, right? And this is what the principle that governs the heart in the Kemetic science that we're going to highlight today is all about. Het-Heru. I think I mentioned Het-Heru before because we talked about Het-Heru being the complement to Heru, the higher self. She is the feminine. She is his counterpart, his lover, his wife, right? Her name literally means house of Heru. So Heru is usually depicted as the falcon, with the symbol being the mask of the falcon. And with Het-Heru, she is associated with the symbol of the cow, which is very significant. Now, a lot of people interpret Het-Heru energy like through the Greek and the Roman interpretations, right? When you look at Egyptology and you look at the European interpretations of Kemet, right, through ancient Egypt studies, all of that is usually depicted from a sense of looking at these principles and these forces as deities. So I want you to go ahead and invert that and remember that these are energies that are forces of nature that are existing. They're indwelling within us, and they're all throughout the universe. And what this energy is actually depicting is an aspect that is scientific. Okay, so they might interpret Het-Heru as the goddess of love and beauty, but what Het-Heru really is the force and the principle of magnetism and attraction. Now, we can easily see how personified we can think of magnetism as love, right? Everything that our sis just said is exactly that, right? It's the part of us that is literally magnetizing things to us, right? It's what creates passion, right? It's what where do you move towards? You move towards what pulls to you, right? What calls to you. We always talk about this calling, and that's what the magnetism is. It's the part that is literally pulling on our energy. And Het-Heru is a feminine, so she represents the sacred feminine principle. She's also associated in the Roman tradition. So in the Greeks, they interpret Het-Heru as Hathor. So you might be familiar with the energy of Hathor. The Romans call Het-Heru Venus, right? So the energy sphere or the planet of Venus is the embodiment. It's the energy sphere of Het-Heru, representing magnetism and attraction, representing this stability that the cow is representing. We're going to go a little bit deeper into that. But specifically, when we're talking about the attractive element of it, that's what we call beauty. So it's usually personified as beauty, right? She is the goddess of beauty. She's usually shown with the mirror, right? What you see. But remember, what you see is a reflection of you, right? So it's all about the state of our inner world, the state of our heart, because that's what Het-Heru attracts, right? Attracts what is within. It is beauty that is below the skin, right? It's beauty that is penetrative, right? It's not superficial beauty. It's through the skin that the health is coming, through the nourishment of the skin, because she's also representing nourishment. On the left-hand side, you can see the most common depiction of Het-Heru as a force is usually shown in the form of a woman, and she's wearing the crown with a solar disc and the cow's horns. The image you see on the right, you can actually see her with the ears of the cow, and she's more symbolized more so as the cow. There's a temple that's still standing in modern day Egypt. It's called the Temple of Het-Heru in Dendera. And in that temple is actually where you can see the original zodiac, right? Or the original depiction of the star signs and the 26,000 year calendar. So Het-Heru is associated with this beauty and this magnetism, this love and this attraction, because she is speaking to something that is a cosmic element. She is talking about the celestial aspect of the divine. That's why she's associated with specifically that planet and that sphere. So what some people don't know, like sis mentioned the North Star, but many people know Venus is called the morning star, right? She is called the evening star when she's rising. So it really depends. Like when Het-Heru is appearing in the West, she's considered the evening star. And we're actually going to go through that transition very soon in this cycle, because we're going to experience a retrograde, right? Where there's an optical illusion from our planet the planet Venus is going to look like it's moving backwards, which gives us a opportunity to actually synthesize whatever lessons we're learning in the heart space around beauty, around attraction, around magnetism, and just this principle in general and how we embody it. So how we embody it is reflected in our relationships. Typically, we can focus on the relationships that we have with women in our lives, our relationship with our mother, our relationship with our sisters, and that can be biological and spiritual and soul sisters. And it's a reflection of just the feminine elements of us, how we relate to our emotions. So even for our brothers who may not, or anyone who may not even have sisters or have any relationships to externalize that perspective, you can actually think about this energy and this force in terms of how it operates within you, because it's the sacred feminine principle within you. It's the part of you that is receptive. It's the part of you that receives. Right. So sometimes when we have that imbalance, as Sis said, where we don't necessarily feel like we can allow ourselves to receive, is when we really want to tap into Het-Heru and really embody this principle of magnetism so we can open ourselves up to receiving. So as I said, Het-Heru being associated with the cow, I want to elaborate a bit more on that. The image you see on the far right is actually from when I went to London last moon, and I took a picture of this image of Het-Heru that I thought was really interesting, because I've actually never seen an image of Het-Heru just like in female form without like the horns and everything. So I thought that was really interesting. And then the image in the center is literally showing Het-Heru when she is depicted specifically as a cow. Now you still see the cobra is associated with Het-Heru, even on the far left, where you see her in the front holding the hand of another feminine energy that's depicting Mut. Mut is the great mother principle. She is the one who's wearing the vulture crown. We had talked about this before a few sessions ago when we talked about the principle of Mut, the mother, when we're talking about how the two feminine energies are significant to power itself, because it was seen that power was given through the line of the mother or through the line of the feminine, which is very important. That means when a man married a woman, the line of inheritance was going to go through the mother. So the wife that he chose was very significant, right? Versus a patriarchal system where the line is passed through the father, right? We usually get our father's last name. In Kemet, it was the opposite, because it's a matrifocal tradition where the woman was centered for the lineage, right? So that being said, think about the elements that Sis was already talking about, because that's exactly what Het-Heru is representing in cow form when she was associating this energy with the breasts, right? Because the milk, think about it, even modern day science, right? And astrophysics, when we call our galaxy the Milky Way galaxy, we're speaking to and echoing this symbolism from our ancestors, because that's why Het-Heru was a celestial principle, because she was speaking to the milk, right? The nourishment, the fertility that the cattle represent, the stability that the cattle represent. Remember, we were a nature-based tradition, an agricultural society. So raising the cattle was very significant. The cattle brought fertility to the land, right? The manure of the cow was fertilizing the land. Not to mention, if you actually go into ritual and sacrifice a cow, it's abundance of meat, of food for the people. That was usually these sacrifices were usually made for ceremonies and rituals, not in the way that we just constantly eat meat and abuse the cattle today. It was seen as a very sacred principle and was highly venerated and highly revered in ancient cultures. And this is across the board. You can look at any of the other traditions that have sprung out of Africa, whether we go to India, to the indigenous traditions of Mesoamerica. Cows have always been held as a sacred animal. And the other aspect, so speaking of that, so remember, it's the nourishment, right? The milk of the cow. And then we're also looking at the aspect of the cow that is its waste, which brings fertility. So Het-Heru also represents the element of fertility and the womb itself, right, is representing the great mother principle. So it's speaking to this particular aspect of the feminine, which is the part that we associate, and we think of it as femininity, right? Sensuality, the aspect that becomes very attractive and pulls energy into it. So that piece is really important. And I just wanted to make sure that we can recognize, right, when we're talking about that Milky Way, that we're speaking specifically about Het-Heru. And that's why it's directly associated with the heart. Because remember, at the center, when the galaxies collide and come together, we have the creation of iron. That is literally the chemistry of our physical heart. So speaking about the heart as a muscle, some of the other elements that I want us to talk about is like how our heart experiences interaction within relationship. Because as I said, like this is very important in terms of our relationship, not only our relationship to ourselves, but also our relationships with others. So sometimes we always talk about, sometimes we always, we often speak about having our hearts broken. So I want us to talk about this a little bit, because think about it. The heart is a muscle. It's not a bone, right? So can we really break our hearts? No. So what is it that we mean when we talk about breaking our hearts, or we go through strains or things that really, and we really feel it in our hearts. So we know, like, you know, when you go through a breakup or something that you really attach to, or a loss of some kind, right? You really feel it in your heart. It's not necessarily the heart becoming heavy, because that more so comes from a space of guilt. And we'll talk about that more when we talk about the weighing of the heart with Ma'at. But we're talking about more so a strain of the heart. And that strain is like any other muscle in the body. Remember, when we are lifting weights, when we're building strength for our muscles have to tear. So when we experience what we call heartbreak, it's really our hearts tearing. And that muscle, as it tears, and we're thinking about this figuratively, right? As our muscle tears, it begins to strengthen. And I want to speak about a few different elements that I want you to symbolically carry into your lives that is very important in terms of maintenance of the heart. Remember, like all muscle, if you're going to tear and strengthen the heart, you're also going to need to stretch the heart. So sometimes we have opportunities after heartbreak or after experiencing something that does have that experience to effect on our heart. We have the opportunity to stretch the heart, right? That's those opportunities that come where we really have to open our heart and really just be in deep trust of whatever our heart has attracted to us, because we need it in that moment for what? To heal the heart. So as it stretches, then you also have the opportunity to nourish the heart with massage, right? Massaging the heart are the things we give ourselves that really make our hearts really feel good. Like the ways we really like nurture and like really warm the heart. That's what I consider like massaging the heart. So know what your heart needs. Sometimes your heart really needs a massage, and you really got to give your heart the space to feel that goodness. And then sometimes the heart just needs to rest. You know, sometimes we just need a pause. Sometimes we need solitude, right? So those are different things that I want you to think about as you evaluate in different points, like what it is that your heart needs. And you can think about it in the context of your heart being a muscle.
Yeah. And even thinking about this, you know, there's been so many things we've said today, specifically around this channel of like giving and receiving, which is what we do in relationships, right? When we're in relationships with others, essentially what we're doing is when we're in reflections with mirrors, people that are mirroring something within us, and then we do this give and receive relationship, giving and receiving exchange, which often, I mean, sometimes over giving, sometimes over receiving, and not giving. And what happens is in all of these relationships, we have imprinting on the heart. So part of one of the ways that our sexual, one of the places that doesn't allow our sexual energy to move, and for the many reasons we've talked about, it being like the center in between all of the chakras, it being this place of receiving God's voice, our creator's voice, this place of magnetism. one of the places is a lot of people walking around with a closed heart, right? And if you have a closed heart, that means that you're not feeling. And if you know anything about arousal, right, this the things, or what causes the energy to activate in the body, it comes with like senses, it comes with feeling, right? It's either hearing, it's either touching, it's either smelling. Our senses have to be activated for this arousal of the energy. So if our heart is closed, oftentimes it can stifle the way that our sexual energy flows. And some of the emotions that cause the heart to be closed, right? We can is dense emotions like grief, which live in the lungs, but it's right near the heart. So one of the reasons why, and even today, right, with all the grief that's going on in the world, right, for since 2020, all the shifts and changes, all the things that, all the old world that we knew that has shifted so much to the wars that are happening, there is so much grief in our heart. And the grief is a dense emotion that can weigh our hearts down. It can weigh our hearts, not allowing us to feel, for the energy to be aroused and freely moving. So we can have imprints of relationships of grief, but we can also have another important one is anger, right? We talked about an unbalanced heart chakra is vindictive. So an emotion an emotion that can be righteous, right? So I'm not in no shape, way, or form condoning or saying anger or rage is bad, because those emotions, it's a fire emotion and it's there for a reason. And injustice, there are things that an injustice in a relationship, in exchange, right? If someone is taking too much and not giving. So it's a real emotion, an emotion that is needed. However, when it's not alchemized, when it's not moved, when we're sitting in it, when we're constantly sitting in anger, in an imbalanced amount of anger, right? Not acting on it or shifting it, it can cause the heart to be stuck and stagnant on like the same thing, which can lead to vindictive thoughts of, now I want to show this person what they did. Which creates a blocked, closed heart, because how we want our heart to be against the element of air. We want our heart to be light. So one of the ways it's literally the easy, it's like fundamentally, if you're thinking about healing, if you're awakening to healing, if you're just like, I don't even know what healing is, but I just want to try it, like fundamentally the easiest, well, might not be easy to everybody, but I'm saying like easy because it's just like one, you could just sit and just like actually give yourself the space. It's like the easiest, fastest practice you can do that will bring you the most amount of healing. And I'm talking about just not only internally, but also around you in your relationships, is forgiveness. Practicing this gift to yourself of unburdening the heart, of untying, uncording a connection that you have that is not feeding you, that is instead keeping you in karmic loops, that is closing the heart and not allowing the heart to be open to receive God's guidance, your soul's guidance, to create the life that you want. So what forgiveness does, right? Saying, I acknowledge. There's actually a prayer that I love. And if you don't know it, I recommend you look it up, because it's so powerful. I can't tell you, I use this all the time. I literally probably use it once a week, and I use it for different parts. And it's called the Ho'oponopono prayer, that comes from the Hawaiian tradition. And the Ho'oponopono prayer is like the easiest way to practice forgiveness, even if you're not feeling it, if you're not like, I'm never going to forgive that person, right? When we think about sexual abuse, right, which again, we feel it in the heart, right? We have this innocent heart, this open heart as children. And then when that innocence, right, when there's an infiltration, a force towards that innocence, that openness, it can close the heart, right? So it could be someone as deep as a predator, right, that you've experienced. Even if you can't go there, if you could just do the Ho'oponopono Ho'oponopono prayer, it will open and flow energy to other chakras and other parts of your body, right? It's in the middle. So this forgiveness will allow energy to move to other centers enough that it can free you, and then there's a domino effect until you can actually maybe write a letter. And the Ho'oponopono prayer kind of cycles the whole, it cycles you through forgiveness from beginning to end. And the prayer it's simple. The first phrase is, I am sorry. Right? So you start with first asking for forgiveness, right? So I am sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. And you might say, why would I be asking someone for forgiveness that I'm needing to forgive for something that they did? So this Ho'oponopono prayer is of higher consciousness. It's from an overstanding, right? So you're seeing it from a spiritual perspective of, if I have hurt this person, if this person has hurt me in some way, maybe I have hurt them in the past. Maybe this could be a karmic tie. Maybe this is something, and you're just at an energetic level, unshackling yourself by saying, if I did something, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. And then acknowledging please forgive me. I love you. So acknowledging the truth of it, the ultimate truth, the universal truth is, I am because you are. We are connected. And the heart chakra is about it's about eternal love. So this higher unconditional love, which again could be really difficult to tap into and feel, especially when it has to do with forgiveness, someone that has done you wrong. But if you're going to live in alignment with higher consciousness, with your higher self, with spirit, then you know that you are connected to this person. Even the people that have hurt you the most, there are mirrors to you. There is a reason why that happened, as painful as it might be. So then you say, I'm sorry, please forgive me. I love you. So you acknowledge I love you, which it's the heart, right? You can even, there's been times in people in my life where I've been like, I love you. I'm sorry, please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. I'm sorry, please forgive. And then days, it gets easier and easier and things start opening. And then the last part of that, I'm sorry, please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. So you're acknowledging that release. You're acknowledging that they've accepted the exchange. And I have a personal story of someone really close to me that we hadn't spoken for 3 years. And this person had done a lot of things to hurt me, which why I created that barrier, that space of 3 years of not communicating. But this was someone that a family member, right? So this is someone that even though they've caused me so much pain, they're flowing through my veins, right? We're talking about blood. They're flowing through my veins. And even though separation was needed, my soul, my heart was feeling closed in certain parts of my life. There were certain things that weren't moving, right? There were certain things in my life that felt stagnant and stuck. And if I inquired with the heart, it was directly tied to this person that had caused me so much pain. And I remember that I was driving and I was driving 2-hour drive. And I was like, you know what? Because you can actually find the Ho'oponopono prayer online, and it just cycles, and you could just say it, intending it and focusing on this one person. And I remember driving to this thing in 2 hours. It was like to actually my sister's house. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to put the Ho'oponopono prayer on, and I'm just going to think about this person, and I'm just going to do it. Although they did me wrong. Okay, y'all, you did me wrong. That's how I was feeling. I was like, you did me wrong, but I'm going to do it. So I did it 2 hours. I was just there, and I was cycling it, to the point that I started to feel it. I'm like, yo, I really do love this person. They've hurt me, but I love you. Thank you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. And then literally I get to my sister's house, in about 20 minutes, this person that I hadn't spoken to or seen shows up. And it was like, obviously it was awkward. It was a hard moment. And my heart was a little bit more open to actually even have some kind of dialogue from all of that work that I was doing for myself. But really, energy is beyond time and space, right? So I was communicating to him at some level. And then we got to my sister's house and we had a wonderful conversation. It didn't fix everything, but it opened, and I shed so much from that moment of just being willing through the pain, the deep pain, through being willing to still find the light, find the openness in that darkness to see how I could open my heart. And I was like, how did you, were you planning on getting here? And the specific person is an Uber driver. And they said, no, I usually, they Uber in Boston. They were like, I was Ubering in Boston, but I got a client that pulled me here. And that's why, so I drove here and then I just stopped by Sis's house. So, it just shows you the magic of being willing to be the alchemist in your life, right? Because you're doing this alchemical work is you saying, I am powerful. I am the alchemist. I know that I can create the life that I want and the life that I desire, and I will take that action forward. And from there, I have a healthy relationship with this person where I'm not thinking about them and my heart is not closed and my energy is not leaking. And my energy field is strong and protective over any, exterior emotions, even from them, right? Like right? Because we're feeling things towards each other, right? As energetic beings, even when we're not communicating, shots are being fired. So my field is so much more protected that I'm not having random thoughts about this person bringing me down, and for me to spend hours feeling sad or waking up with my heart closed, not knowing why. I'm in a place of being light.
Yeah. And that's why we're saying like the open heart is the protection in terms of this. And there's different approaches, right? It depends how you want to move through it. For me, with the heart space, I like to move in sincerity, but I think it's very dangerous for some people to linger in the pain and wallow in the emotions. For me, I like to exhaust them. Remember that the heart is the sensory organ, right? Like it's helping us to sense and feel and connect, right? Because like we said, it's connecting us to the inception of the universe, meaning it's connecting us to that that one song, universe. It's one song. And part of that is like what we're talking about right now with the heart being light. We're coming back to this principle of ma'at. We're coming back to this judgment scene, because when we release ourselves, sometimes we need to be careful not to let certain things become cliche, because then we disconnect ourselves from them. Forgiveness can never be a cliche because of how important it is. We have to release. And we always say forgiveness is not for the other person, it's for you. Because really, ultimately, we're speaking to that universal truth that anyone outside of you is you. So sometimes it's difficult when our energy is so dense and low that it can't rise up to the heart, because then we have a hard time disconnecting from the physical reality of this life cycle to allow our energy to lighten up, right? Where we can see with our first eye, where we can go into our crown and we can see the divinity of every single moment, every circumstance, every choice, every alignment that has happened, and recognizing that that is what's supposed to happen. It's very difficult when we are facing trauma, pain, things that are very gruesome or grotesque, right? But even those things are here to serve a purpose. So what Ma'at shows us as a universal principle, again, because it's the heart that's being weighed, this symbol of justice and judgment only takes place when something is complete. So the deceased person, in this case, Ani, that's being held by the hand with the the priest that has the jackal mask, he's being brought in because his life has completed. He's completed a life cycle. And now his heart is being weighed, because now that his life is complete, it can be judged. So sometimes we move into judgment and we make our hearts heavy and we judge other people that we have no business judging. And what happens with judgment, it's an aspect of ma'at. Karma is an aspect of ma'at. What goes around comes around. When we say that, it's because when we cast the judgment out, right? The quote is something like, judge not lest ye be judged. Because when we cast out a judgment, it's a reflection of us. So we literally end up attracting the situation. It's like a boomerang. So that's one of the primary expressions of our spiritual growth. Like it's a key process that we have to move through, is learning how to create a healthy relationship with judgment. That's very important. So in our ancestral tradition, Ma'at is a moral code. It's a moral inventory that you do on yourself by weighing your heart. So we saw ourselves weighing the heart every day. right? And in the ancient world, we would actually declare the 42 declarations of Ma'at, things like, I will not waste water, I will not steal, I will not kill, I will not desecrate holy places, I will not sow seeds of regret. And then at the end of the day, we would do that inventory on ourselves. I have not stolen. I have not wasted water. I have not sowed seeds of regret. I have not killed. And if we reached something that we had done, it was actually our duty to seruj ma'at, meaning to restore ma'at. So you have to make your heart light. If you did something that was out of integrity, you then have the responsibility to do that for yourself. So that's how we had a society that didn't need police. We had such a strong moral system that was self-governed, self-imposed, that we didn't need that. But we've moved through cycles, because Ma'at is also speaking about cosmic order. So there's cycles. For every day there's night, right? For every high frequency, there's a low frequency. So Ma'at is also speaking to wholeness, right? It's universal law in the sense that everything moves in cycles. So what goes around has to come around. So we experienced this golden age where we had all these principles and things, and look at us now. We're experiencing the opposite, where we have such a degenerate cycle right now. When we look at the state of our collective heart right now, look at the reality I just said. The majority of people on the planet, the leading cause of death of human beings is heart disease. So that is speaking to the collective state of decay. But what do we have faith in? We have faith in a new day, because we know we're in an alchemical process. We're in a transformation process. We're in a revolutionary process. And we know that we're going to come back around to our golden age. So that's part of us embracing the pain, embracing the trauma and the emotions and the things that feel heavier, so that we can relieve ourselves, so we can forgive ourselves, right? And create a new cycle, right? So that forgiveness, all of that is essential. So when we think about Ma'at as a principle, as a universal principle, it's an energy that we have to embody. And we embody it by making choices that align us with integrity, that align us with morality. If you're not familiar with the 42 covenants of Ma'at, I do recommend, sometimes they're called the negative confessions, sometimes they're called the declarations of Ma'at. And this is where the 10 commandments comes from. It's inspired by this. You know, in the Bible, when they talk about Moses being raised as a prince of Egypt, there's no way, if there was a figure that existed and grew up in Kemet, that he was not exposed to the 42 principles of Ma'at that is literally etched in stone in every temple, right? So these principles, it's very different the way that it's been interpreted now, because Ma'at was a moral inventory you do on yourself. But the 10 commandments is something, I don't know why it's doing the 10 commandments are commandments, like you're being told by an outside force and authority over you what to do. Very different dynamic, right? So remember, the state of our heart is something we're checking in on every day, right? And when anything completes itself, right, we can't judge anybody because we don't see the whole picture of their life. We can see we can't even judge ourselves until we die. We can judge something once it is completed, right? Once a cycle has completed itself, once a relationship has completed itself, when things close out, we can evaluate and move into that space of judgment in a righteous way, right? So Ma'at is a beautiful principle. It connects us with the heart. It connects us with integrity. It connects us with the way that we actually should be looking at how we govern not only society, but ourselves and our lives, our relationships and connections. So the state of our heart is something that we can constantly be checking in on, feeling in on, recognizing that it's a process. If you're not there, you could do take the path that Sis described with the Ho'oponopono prayer. And, you know, I don't know, that sounds like almost like fake it till you make it.
I mean, it's part of it, you know. You have to create some kind of movement, right? It's like going to the gym. You go to the gym the first day, you kind of fake it till you make it. You get on the thing, you're acting like you can run, you run 2 seconds, you're like, okay, I can't, okay, let me try again. And then eventually it becomes like, oh, shoot, I'm a runner. You know, that is part of it, is, you know, part of embodiment. It has a piece of that. You know, you can believe you're something, and then, you know, through the practice of it, it comes into truth. And something I want to add as we're closing is to think about, we're in a time of revolution right now, y'all, right? Like Corey, who's the father of my son, is a history teacher. And for 2020, I had the front seat to his classes because he was home. So I got to hear it. And what this man teaches about is revolutions. So he teaches about all the different revolutions that we've experienced. And I remember like sitting in my room and I could hear him teach. And I was like, yo, he keeps talking about the same things that are happening right now. Like I heard him all year teaching, and it's the same themes that are happening right now. So if you study revolutions, if you look into revolutions and you understand the themes of what's showing up for us collectively right now, you know, without a shadow of a doubt, that we're in a revolution, right? A shift, a change. And what the forces usually do, right? What is the, because life is split into two. There's two components that everything else falls under, and that's fear or love. And so during this revolution, right, the forces that be, it's very easy for them to, as we've seen in 2020, to bring you into fear. And so during this revolution, you want to be checking in with your heart, because you want to constantly be asking yourself, am I moving from my heart, which we know is my communication, my connection to above, to my creator, to my soul? It's my soul compass. Am I listening to my heart, or am I taking action of fear? Because like I said earlier, an unbalanced heart is fearful. So you want to be constantly weighing your actions and asking yourself, at the core of what you're doing, like when you're making this choice about your job, when you're making a choice about your relationship, to stay in it or leave, when you're making a choice about, do I, you know, say this thing or not to someone that I love, something that my heart is feeling, are you doing it because it's coming truly from the heart? Or are you not doing it because of fear? And ensure that if you want a balanced heart chakra, if you want the center that is, as we talked about today, is so important to the health of all of your other chakras, it's literally in the middle. So it's you know, like I said last week about where the position of the chakra is so like it's so important. It tells us so much, and it's at the center for a reason. It should be at the center of your life. So any choice that you are making, constantly check in with yourself. Is this choice, am I making this out of what is driving this? Is it this beautiful, magnetic, powerful, beating heart? Or is it fear?
Mm-hmm.
And ensure to just keep bringing yourself into ma'at, into the heart of love.
And it's important to recognize, like, ma'at is not simply just balance. You know, ma'at is truth. It's the whole picture. You need the whole picture. That's why we wait for cycles to complete themselves. So we need the full spectrum. We need the full spectrum of fear and love. We need the full spectrum, because one doesn't exist without the other. It gives purpose. In order for us to love, we have to be encouraged. That's why the heart is about courage, because we face our fear every time we choose love.
Yes.
Every time we choose love, we're facing our fear. So where is it that you need to lean into with more courage? What is it that you need to trust more, that your heart is showing you, is bringing to you? And how can you be more in trust of that? Yeah. Coming back to embodiment, right? It's all about making sure we're actually being the thing. Embodiment isn't just this intellectual thing that we're just throwing out there now. It's just a keyword, hot topic. Embodiment is making the thing real. When I say I embody ma'at, it's because I know I'm authentic. I know I'm true. I know I'm in integrity, and I strive for that. Right? I'm going to be honest with myself, even if that honesty is, hey, I'm afraid. I know I'm in ma'at, in that fear. So remember, it's a spectrum, and you synthesize. You have to assess what is the reality and what is the necessity in each moment. It brings you to be present. When you synthesize the whole thing and you see, okay, what's right in this moment? What am I ready for? Where do I have the power? And that power is in defining it, and choosing it. So remember, this is where we get to stimulate and activate and practice and embody the energy. So we're going to close out with a practice that's actually going to bring us into our bodies. But I do want to share, like, when we talk about the retreat, like, I'm really excited about the process of actually releasing and moving things out of the body. Because even though sometimes we do all that mental stimulation, right? We're not here to masturbate. We are here to circulate and alchemize sexual energy. So we're not keeping anything up here in the mind, and we're also not keeping anything down here in the body. We're talking about moving it all throughout. Deep stimulation, pleasure of life that so many of us are deprived of. We're talking about activating that so you could feel it and sense it in the body, but you have to make space for it. If you have energy that's calcified, if you have some type of chronic dysfunction, disorder in the body, working through healing the physical body is essential. And when Sis was talking about forgiveness, it's essential that we move things out of the body. So we're going to be doing a lot of practices that literally open the heart. There's postures, positions, meditations that we can do that literally open the heart. So you'll be learning those practices. We'll be doing those practices together. You'll be taking those practices with you into your life. And like we said, you'll never be the same after the sexual alchemy experience. So right now, what we're going to do is something simple that we could easily do on screen. This is a simple posture. This symbol that you see on your screen is Medu Neter, or the hieroglyphic image of the Ka. Ka means spirit. Okay. That's the best way that we can interpret it. So what I'm going to invite us to do, because I'm going to actually play the frequency tone of the heart. So it's literally going to tune us to the natural vibration of this energy center, right? So as we're tuning ourselves, I'm going to invite you to actually hold this posture of the Ka. Now, the thing about the Ka posture is you want to make sure that you're at a 90-degree angle with your elbows here, right? You want to create that 90-degree angle and hold your arms up. Remember, it's going to start to stimulate. Remember, as we talked about earlier, the arms are extensions from the heart. They're literally coming out of the heart center. When we have that 90-degree angle with the hands above our heads, we're directing our heart to connect with our heads, coming back to Tehuti Ma'at, right? The mind is connecting with the heart. So we're going to hold this posture here. I want you to go ahead and breathe deep into the belly. So no shallow breaths. You're going to expand the belly like a balloon. And then you're going to release. You can release through your mouth or through your nostrils. And you're going to contract that belly in, right? So to breathe in this posture helps us to make sure that the breath is reaching the heart and the upper regions, right? So we're going to have fuller, deeper breaths because of how we are holding and extending our chest right now. So I want you to go ahead and inhale and consciously know you're directing this breath not to your chest, through your belly to your heart. Because remember, your breath is pulling in the oxygen that's giving your heart the purpose for its heartbeat. So it can circulate that oxygen and it can clear out that carbon dioxide, right? So I want you to hold this posture. Go ahead and breathe into your arms. Remember to keep that 90-degree angle. Breathe into your arms because it's going to start to feel some muscle tension, right? You're activating that muscle there. And I want you to hold it while I'm playing this tone and just go ahead and take those deep breaths. I invite you to go ahead and release your arms. You can shake them out. Shake out those arms because I know that muscle is working. And sometimes you don't even have to move to stimulate your muscles, right? It's so interesting how just holding a posture, holding a position literally works the energy. So I want you to think about that when it comes to the heart too. Sometimes just resting the heart. You know, I really want to speak to this because I noticed that some people have a pattern and a habit of like moving from relationship to relationship without acknowledging the inner relationship, right? It becomes a way we distract ourselves. So remember, a pause of the heart sometimes is really a pause on externalizing your energy through the relationships as well, building and cultivating that inner relationship with your Ka, with your spirit. Okay. So that is a beautiful practice that I hope that you bring into your life and continue to use to activate your heart, connect it, and balance it with your mind. And we're hoping that you'll be with us in person where we could go into even deeper practices and exercises through the body for you to experience what sexual alchemy is all about, why we're using this sacred ancient wisdom to really root ourselves and learn about the energy dynamics of the body and specifically use them to actually move and circulate our sexual energy. So we're going to learn in the sexual alchemy classes more in depth beyond the layers that we've gone into in the webinar and that we will continue to go into throughout the webinar series. We're going to put it into practice. The meditation medicine, the sound healing, right? Just now you just got tuned to the sound of the heart, but these frequencies can't travel entirely through the virtual space, right? But when we're in person and we're able to do the sound baths and sound prayers and really process and use the sound bowls and the sound instruments to actually tune our frequencies to their natural vibration, so powerful. I'm going to let Sis go ahead and speak on some of the other things that you'll get to experience with us if you come to the Sexual Alchemy Retreat. I am going to go ahead and put the link on the screen, but you can also click in the description and you can click directly to go to sexualalchemy.com for more details and information about the retreat.
Yeah, y'all, this is just a taste. It's just a small little taste. It's like a little dose of the medicine. And as potent as this is, you know, we really want to give you the full medicine. Come have some heart orgasms with us. Like, did you know that your heart could have orgasms? There is so much, we're in a revolution, like I've been saying. And when I say that, like when we think about revolution, sustainability is so important. And for things to be sustainable, right, for us to be, in this war and win, we have to sustain. And pleasure is such a beautiful way of sustaining through all of the difficulties. If we can have heart orgasms, right, if our hearts can be open in connection, so much goodness can come out of it. So we'll be doing some womb healing workshops. We'll actually get to go into the Carnival and experience the medicine of the actual ritual. So watching the performances of these beautiful women, while, we just get to take them in free, embodied, and in their power, in their bodies, while the community gets to celebrate them. We'll be swimming with turtles. I actually just watched the video of a friend that's in Cabo Verde today, swimming with the turtles, and they look so beautiful. So you'll get an opportunity to like listen to your heart of like, I want to have this courage of feeling faith and trust that I can jump in this water and I'll be fine, right? Like the turtles are not going to hurt me. Nothing else is going to come from anywhere. You're going to get to have this beautiful baptism of going into this water with the grace and the power and the medicine of the turtle, and feel safe. And like, maybe not feel safe in the beginning, but after you come out, like acknowledging the power of what does it mean when you take that leap of faith, right? When you take that leap of trust, when you take that, my heart wants to do this, let me just try. So we'll be doing that. We'll also be traveling to one of the islands called Santantown, which is near Sao Vicente, which is where we'll be. And Santantown is like, I will fight anybody that goes into that land and try to do anything crazy. It is beautiful, primal, untouched, lush. It's like that in itself is like, I was just there for the first time in August, and it's my ancestral land. Hey Manny, welcome. It's my ancestral lands where my grandmother was born, and it is such a majestic place. Like you will question if you're even on planet Earth anymore because of how untouched and lush and beautiful, majestic and peaceful. I remember feeling so much peace being there. Like, yo, this is just like, this is where I want to come and just write. It gives you like, you know, it's a mountainous island. So it's like literally feeling like you're up in the mountains. Like I was like, I would be here to write. Like I would love to come here and write. And you'll be having and talk about lushness, we'll be having some yummy, the foods, like at least in the US, the food ain't doing it for me. Okay, y'all need to come purify yourself with these beautiful food that's been charged up by our beautiful Ra, like our beautiful sun, this cosmos has been just
mineral rich soil, our fertile soil. What? Yes.
So come if you have any questions. Oh yeah, and then the somatic practice, which I'm really excited about. Again, we can give you all the information, right? But we want you to have a felt experience, right? We're in this Aquarian age, and we want to go beyond just like the intellect into I know. And the I knows come from a felt experience. You have to feel what it feels like to have a heart orgasm. You have to feel what it feels like to release and forgive and let and release blockages. You have to feel what it feels like to alchemize grief, right? To go from feeling stuck and stagnant and stuck to coming back home and being like, yo, I feel so light, so free. And once you have that experience, you'll be changed forever. And then we'll be equipping you with tools. So all the workshops, all the gathering, all the time we're together, you're going to have these concrete tools to be able to come back home to wherever you traveled from and integrate it into your daily life. This is not just come to retreat, come rest, enjoy, which is cool. I'm not saying nothing about those retreats. Those are great too. We definitely need to retreat and rest. But specifically, this retreat is about it being life-changing. We want to make sure that when you come as a living ancestor that you are, that you will shift the paradigm of those that will come after you. The intention of this is to be a portal that you come in and you will never be the same, and neither will be anyone in your lineage that comes from you, and even those that you're connected to. This will impact you in all of your relations.
Yeah.
So gift yourself this.
Yeah, it's a purification process. This is really an investment. I do want you to know that. Even though this is going to be a beautiful experience, you come to Cabo Verde, Sao Vicente, Santantan. We're going to have a beautiful experience, VIP experience at Carnival for 2 nights. We're going to do our sacred fire ceremony. We're going to go swim with the turtles. All of the things that we're going to do. We're going to eat delicious, rich, locally sourced, powerful, potent food, some of which is going to be coming from my farm, which I'm excited about sharing. And all of that is part of a beautiful experience. But as our sister said, this whole purpose is not even just for us clearing out our ancestral lines, but this is for all our relations, right? All our relationships from here on out will be impacted by the profound transformation that we are going to move through. When we transmute our sexual energy, we're talking about going to the core and rewriting the whole script. Complete transmutation, right? It's very deep. So if you feel called, answer the call.
Yes.
You will not, this is something that you will not regret.
You will not.
And usually when you have those experiences, like these opportunities, these moments, like we've all had these moments. I know Leyanne had these moments and I've had these moments. You cannot arrive at becoming without taking that leap of faith, without making that sacrifice, whatever it may be. And what a beautiful sacrifice to make. Let me get on a fly to Cabo Verde on the west coast of Africa into the luscious, beautiful lands that my ancestors' spirits are calling for, like this revitalization. Right? Because remember, in the beginning, when we first introduced sexual alchemy, we talked about specifically why Cabo Verde is so important to the diaspora of Africa. When we talk about the trafficking of Africans across the Atlantic Ocean, we're talking about going back to that source. You know how much blood was shed in the Atlantic Ocean? right? So we're talking about being in Cabo Verde. We're talking about being in the rough waters of the Atlantic that still has the blood of our ancestors. Okay, there was so much blood in those waters that the sharks changed their migration patterns. Okay, so we're talking about returning back to that core wound and healing it with love, with beauty, with pleasure. I just can't away.
Yeah,
So,
come unlock your creative power. You know, this is your sexual energy is your creative power. The reason why we want to unshackle it, we want to release this tension. We want you to rebirth this version of you that is free and your energy is flowing and moving, is so that you can create. Right? We need creators right now on our planet. We need creators that are fierce, because all the systems around us are crumbling. It's part of creating the new, right? The old has to crumble. But when the old crumble, we have to have the warriors that are ready to create, that are willing to create, that they have the courage to create. But for us to create, our heart has to be open, right? We have to have all these chakras. Our energy, right, has to be flowing for us to be creating in alignment. And right now it's the perfect opportunity. And and when I think about creative energy, and we had a brother say this to us, and it's been sitting with us, he's like, I know and I feel that you're going to be opening up portals for entrepreneurs, right? Because when we're thinking about creation, right, we're creating things that haven't been created before. Everyone is moving from a path of like employee to this path of like creating new systems, because we're good. I mean, we desperately need them, but we're going to desperately need them even more when they finish crumbling. So this is going to open up all areas of your life. It's sexual energy, but this is not, I mean, sis says sex is in everything. So even it's not the sex that you might have in your mind of like the physical act. No, we're talking about primal power, your power to create, the power that creates universes, that created you. Come unlock it, so then you can create the things in the world that we so desperately need. This is a call to change your entire life, all sections of it, your relationships, your professional life. Like if you're an employee, I'm pretty sure you're coming back and you're gonna be like, I'm back. What are the things? Tahuti ma'a, okay, that it's a coalition that I can come into and start creating. We got more, right? This is just the beginning. It's an unlocking and opening, so you can feel like arrive into the new of who you are, who you're supposed to be, your divinity, your birthright of who you're supposed to be, and then create. And then we got more. We got portals and portals. We got all these other portals that we would love to support you in stepping into. So this is about creating. It's about creation.
And creating what's in your heart, right? Creating what's in your heart, which is why we're so glad that you were able to join us today. We hope that this message, this energy, this wisdom that has been poured out today, that you received it with love, that it's been delivered, and that you feel more empowered in trusting your heart. So we hope to see you at the Sexual Alchemy Retreat. Remember, we are open. If you want to arrive at a new state of being, we want to be your guides. So if you feel called, go to sexualalchemy.com. You can book a chemistry call with us, and then we can make sure that this is a good fit. We can answer any of your questions. And if you're ready, go ahead and hit the application button. You can apply now, and then we'll schedule the call and get you onboarded. Okay, so the retreat is from February 28th. It's not a year. It's February 28th through March 7th. Okay, so we hope to see you there in Cabo Verde, and we'll see you next time for the solar plexus, huh?
Manipura, yes.
All right.
Yo, please.
Travel light. Next time. Power.
Eternal love to you.
Okay. Wait, okay, it wouldn't let me end the stream.